Redditors who make over $100,000 a year. What jobs, promotions and steps did you take to get there? And what was getting that first big paycheck like? Not me, but my wife. I was carrying the load and getting by when we got together. She got a job as a part-time clerk for a small company, 15 employees. She was part of the support staff for the company's salesman. She is efficient and focused when she works. Does not Reddit or FB or text. She does her job while working. Anyway, after a couple of years she saw an avenue of income that her company was not exploiting. They already had a customer base, but were not selling a line of related items. She looked into it, did the research for what it would take to expand into that area, then went to the company president and made her presentation. For a modest investment, the salesman could let their customers know that they now offered this and that. The pres went for it and said she would head up that new department, just her, and would grow as the new program grew. It took off immediately. She was made full-time and given a substantial raise. The president retired shortly thereafter. The new guy was actually the top salesman who had thrived under my wife's idea. On day one he said he wanted to expand even further on the program and asked what she needed. He gave her 2 assistants, a raise in base pay and said she should also get 10% commission on all sales made on this line of products. The company has grown to 50 employees. The program has continued to grow and she makes pretty good money. And she never went to college. Luck, timing, politicking, butt kissing, networking, but mostly I think it's being the guy who gets crap done. 2 of my moves to new companies were because a former boss went first and then brought me along. You can only spend so much money each week or month, so once you get a certain paycheck amount, it becomes more about long-term goals, socking away for retirement, funding college savings plans, and budgeting for good vacations and trips. Current business owner, took nearly 7 years to crack $100,000, now doing fairly well year in and year out. My tip apply to being a business owner but directly relate to being a manager and maybe other aspects of working. Just because you are in a position of authority doesn't mean you should sit back and give orders. To this day I work as hard as any employee I have. If others are busy, I take out the trash, vacuum, and other small tasks you might not think a manager or owner would do. Any workplace is a team, and while you are the boss, you must also show everyone around you that you work hard, and as a result they work harder for you. It's better to be a leader and go into battle alongside your troops than be a king and sit back and shout orders. I moved to the Bay Area and went from $40K to $100K. Still poor. Currently exceeding $100K by a good margin. Worked my butt off for years, trying to get better and better at what I do. Made lots of friends and contacts who trust me. Looked for opportunities. Made a couple silly choices. Then seized my latest opportunity by the balls. I'm currently working 50-60 hours a week, but trying very hard to get that down. But in a great spot. Currently enjoying an opportunity overseas. That first big paycheck was really a long series of progressively slightly larger checks and associated tax bills. Not nearly the moment you imagine. Actually far more underwhelming than you'd expect. Even the big jumps don't end up as big as you think they'll be. It's easy to imagine that your life will transform once you hit X threshold. But it doesn't. Not usually, anyway. You start buying brand name foods. You get a real bed. Maybe get a rug. Then you might realize, hey, maybe I can afford a less old car, and you do. And it's a nice feeling. It's not a movie moment. Generally it's a gradual adjustment of your living standards that keeps pace with your means. Sometimes outpaces. Then one day, years down the road, you find yourself buying a house you never dreamed you could buy and taking your family to Hawaii one year, and you sit back, remembering the years on a stained futon and living on bagged cereal, and think, how the frick did I do this? It's nice. It's scary. It takes a long time. Keep cranking, man. 1. Get the first job. 2. Be great at that job. 3. Get a raise promotion. 4. Be great at that job. 5. Move to new company job. Demand more money. 6. Repeat steps to 5. In terms of getting that first paycheck, it's not like you suddenly go from $25,000 a year to $100,000. It all happens in increments. By the time you get to 6 figures, it's just a bump from the previous check. It's nice, but you really don't notice it until 6 months later anyway. timeline moving down. Raised on food stamps. Joined the army. Got TS clearance and computer security EXP. Get out of army after 4 years. Get cleared contractor job 3 months later for 50k. Work there for 8 months and jump to another contract paying 72k. Work there for 1 month and jump to another contract paying 95k. Work there for 2 years and get a 10k raise. We had a lot of debt that we are still trying to get paid off, but I get a check for 3k every 2 weeks, so it is pretty sweet. Software developer here. Hired fresh out of college 6 years ago at 45k. Lowballed the salary for my degree to get my foot in the door. As of this year up to 110k working for the same company. I owe this massive increase to several things. Get along with your boss and your boss's boss. They ultimately are the ones who can make big raises happen, and they are much more willing to talk to the head honchos on your behalf if they like you. I've had 3 bosses now, and all of them have pushed on my behalf for 13% plus raises in the middle of the year. Not only do your job, but help teach others how to do theirs. Your boss will appreciate the team improvement. Do more than your job description. Bonus points if you happen to really like that extra stuff. In my case, I created a bunch of little tools to help automate a bunch of tasks, not just mine, but also beneficial to my co-workers. Always be accepting of change and even embrace it. The software world is changing constantly. Those who can adapt quickly will climb the ladder much faster than someone set in their ways. I little luck. Well, I run a business. The first year was a bunch of grinding. Now I hardly work at all since the bulk of it is outsourced. Took 22 years. Lots of hard work. And still does. I remember the moment I crossed the $100k threshold. I smiled and did a little fist pump. The pay hike that moment was $7.50 more an hour, and I knew that did it. Go to medical school. Work your butt off in your early 20s. Go to residency. Work your butt off in your late 20s. Get a job. Work your butt off doing patient care. Hopefully see your family some. The first check was a lifesaver due to being poor from an impending marriage and moving 1,000 miles for my new job. Loyalty died with the pensions. Go interview for other jobs when you have a job and demand more. Leapfrog your way up. Helps to have bargaining power as well. If you want to make $100,000 a year, I'd suggest putting away a large portion of your salary so you can take risks when necessary. Got a liberal arts degree from a public university at age 20. Realized that teaching history probably isn't very lucrative. Leveraged my skills on standardized testing to get into a top 5 law school. Busted my butt for 3 years in law school. Graduated in the top third of my class. And landed a job paying $160k a year at age 24. Big law market went a little crazy and gave everyone raises on the 1st of July. So now I make $180k a year. Honestly, it's all a bit surreal. I have a lot of student loans, so I'm putting a lot of money toward those and will have them paid off in 2.5 years. I still, mostly, live like a college student, so the big paycheck just feels like numbers to me. It all goes in the bank investments loans. Was making about 40k after undergrad working as an entry-level data center technician. Went to grad school and focused on project management, and got a consulting job at a big firm making 60k after my masters. Over 4 years I got a promotion and then a couple new jobs. Currently at 120k and in talks for a new position at my current client. The most important requirement was good communication skills, both written and spoken, and being the kind of person that can bridge the gap between executives and project teams. If you can fill that gap without peeing anyone off, it's a huge win. And beyond that, just being the kind of person with whom people want to work. Positive, energetic, friendly but professional. The first big paycheck felt good, but taxes take a bigger bite from each raise. I'm fine with that. Happy to pay my share, but a jump from 60 to 120k definitely doesn't double your net income. I feel a little embarrassed about my income. It's very nice, but a lot more than my friends in non-profits or other industries that, arguably, add a lot more value to society. I make $200k in Silicon Valley with about 12 years experience. I can think of 2 keys. 1. The bosses at your company are really scared about things which they both don't understand and also have the potential to put them out of business, lose them lots of money. For me it's typically been about downtime on complicated systems that form the backbone of the company I'm working for at the time. My strategy has been to become the main guy in charge of some or all of these things. I keep them stable and then every now and then there is some reminder of how important they are and how helpless they are without me. Right around those times I seem to mysteriously get raises. 2. Sometimes I've found myself working for people who don't have that attitude. There's some reminder of how helpless they are without me and the boss's attitude is something like, well, don't let that happen again or I'll just replace you with someone else. I just quit those jobs. I've only had to do it twice in 12 years. So you are the guy who writes unmaintainable code. I have worked in different fields over the years, from retail to finance to non-profits, and the one thing that was always the same for me, regardless of the company or position, was learn as much as you can and provide the best service possible. Learning to work with people and be effective in doing so was the final kicker to getting me to where I am now. Seems simple, but it is a grind every day and it doesn't stop when you reach that point. Go where the money is. Sales, finance, investing. Employers will pay more to employees who have inbound revenue directly attributed to them. My degree is in computer engineering. I started in IT during the peak of the dot-com bubble. After 6 years of doing this, 2 different companies, I worked my way up to a position where I covered several locations spread out over 3 or 4 cities and was considered a manager, even though I was a one-man department by then. My next move was into consulting, specifically implementing and teaching a niche software product used by big multinational companies. Sounds impressive, but basically more grunt work. At this point, I was traveling on the company dime and keeping my airline miles and hotel points. During 6 years of this, I gradually crept up on and passed the 100k mark, and then I quit. I work in staffing and will be making 6 figures this year. It's only my 3rd year with the company. 4 years ago, I was on food stamps. The reality is simply to find something difficult that you're good at, realize that there's a future there, grind it out until an opportunity arises. Don't quit, and seize it. That said, money comes quick if you're able to single-handedly generate organic revenue for a company. If it's an office job, learn how to use Excel better than everyone else. Learn every single hotkey, and at least learn the basics of VBA. I turned a 13.50 per hour temp data entry job into a 100k plus job in about 5 years, and a good deal of that is because people think I'm a wizard after watching me use Excel. An absurd amount of people I work with act like they can't get any better with computer applications. It's pretty dang easy to do and I learned it all on the job. The learned helplessness of 95% of line-level employees is just dumb. Major airline pilot, not to be confused with commuter airline pilot, some of whom qualify for food stamps. Yes, really. Doctor here, literally just finished residency in June. Took the following 4 years of undergrad and 18k in loans. I was lucky that parents had saved and funded the rest. 1 year of grad school, optional, plus 50k in loans. 4 years of medical school and $250k in loans. Every day in med school was like cramming the last day before finals in undergrad. Makes college look like a cakewalk. 3 years of residency making 49k a year working 60-80 hours a week. Makes med school look like a cakewalk. If you're a surgical field, probably closer to 5-6 years. If you want to make more, you can do a fellowship which would be between 1-3 years depending on field. I'm not a surgeon specialist or anything, so most people in primary care will be making somewhere between 120k to 270k depending on field, location, academic versus private institution, etc. Sounds like a lot until you realize you're at a minimum of 29 years of age if you didn't take time off before starting to earn your first real paycheck and suddenly having to pay back a mortgage magnitude loan at 6.8% interest. Most of your social life has been put on hold and you missed out on most of your 20s. All your friends presumably have been working the past 7-8 years and have moved on to their second, third jobs and or promotions. A bit of the hidden cost I didn't fully appreciate until I went through it. That being said, the money is nice, but there are easier fields you could go into and make way more if you spent the same amount of time and effort. Don't do medicine for the money. I was lost during college, in debt, in a field I didn't care for, and my outlook looked fairly bleak. My first job out of college paid $8 HR. I'm well past $100K now. There are 3 ideas that I adopted very early on. Don't be afraid to fail. No one owes you anything. Be humble enough to know you have a lot to learn. I changed career paths very early on. It was a big risk and had nothing to do with my college degree. I regularly got in over my head and clawed my way through it, usually coming out the other side with valuable experience and lessons learned that I would use the rest of my career. No matter how bleak things looked, I never blamed anyone else. No one owes me a break. I deserved no one's pity, nor did I ask for it. I feel like too much time and energy is wasted complaining about who got a raise over me, who got promoted, why things are unfair, etc. Instead of complaining about problems, I work to find ways to solve them. I honestly feel almost anyone with a good work ethic and the ability and humility to learn can get pretty far in life. The moment you think you know everything is the moment you stop innovating and improving. You've become too conceited to improve your skill set. Look at the dead-eyed people you come across daily who are not successful and try to figure out what they have in common. The most common characteristics I come across from those I don't hire or recommend for a position are those who are either afraid, feel entitled, or are unwilling to learn. Anyway, that's been my philosophy and it's worked out pretty good so far, but I still have much to learn. Not quite 100,000, but I get close with overtime. I work as a firefighter caption. I got my job by slowly grinding my way up. I first worked as an EMT, then paramedic, then I got hired as a firefighter, then promoted to lieutenant, and after about 16 years I got to my current position. The whole time I worked on getting certifications and experience wherever I could. Engineer at Intel. My path was kinda weird. Undergrad was a degree in marine engineering and I worked on ships for a number of years. Then I got accepted to grad school and studied primarily electrical engineering. Interned at Altera for a bit. I enjoyed all of it so far. I had, for years, been working for a family-owned design firm making about $15 HR. During the recession we closed up shop and I was out of work. I put my resume up on Craigslist and was contacted by a small oil gas design firm who hired me on at $22 HR. At the same time my dad had recently been hired on to a large engineering firm making very good money and I told him to put in a good word for me. 2 months later I got an offer to go work for that company for $50 HR. I felt like I just won the lottery, literally. Couple that with the fact that I was continuously on overtime, my income went from somewhere around $35K to $150K within a few months. I was able to prove myself at the large engineering firm and have been getting pay increases since then. With overtime I just clipped the $200K mark last year. Also I have no degree but I'm good at what I do, lol. In my case, mostly just a lot of education, as in really a lot. And then what turned out to be a lucky field, where salaries increased quite a lot over time. I've never been very focused on getting ahead, just took opportunities as they presented themselves. And I'm the world's worst networker. I just try to treat people as I'd like to be treated. I did, once or twice, get bonus checks over $100K and that was a bit of a thrill. But it wears off fast. 1. Job out of college getting paid $72,000. 2. Yearly raise. Scored highly on yearly review, so this was 4%. 3. Promoted 8% raise. 4. Yearly raise 3%. 5. Yearly raise 2%. Competitive year. 6. Promoted, but no new title. 5%. 7. Yearly raise 3%. 8. Promoted, new title 7%. 9. Yearly raise 3%. I'm a bit higher than those approximations calculate to, but that's about where I'm at 5 years after my BSc. Getting a MSc this year which could add $20K to my salary based on national averages. It doesn't feel real. I just play with computers all day. Software engineer. The first check at $72K was the biggest shock to me. Coming from a blue collar background, I literally made as much as my parents at the same time. Each raise adds a bit to your paycheck. for sure, but I shovel a lot of it into savings, stocks, mutual funds, etc. and try to minimize my spending anyways. So the added $70 after taxes or whatever per paycheck in that last raise didn't really get noticed. I didn't go out and buy a new car or anything crazy. Not having to live paycheck to paycheck is the biggest thing I've noticed. Super glad I don't have to do that anymore. 1. Do reasonably well in high school. 2. Be first in family to go to college. Struggle hard. Pursue chemistry degree. 3. Decide I hate chemistry because it's super lonely. 4. Pretty girl in lab is pre-med. Hey, now I'm pre-med too. 5. Do some clinical research. Actually like medicine, science and human interaction makes me happy. 6. Talk to a med school. Admission counselor literally laughs out loud. Tells me I should have come 4 years ago. 7. Get mad. Real mad. 8. Take additional year of college for med school prerequisites. Destroy MCAT. Get admitted to medical school. 9. Graduate med school with honors. 10. Bring diploma to previously referenced admission counselor. Advise her to not crap on people's dreams anymore. 11. Decide on and complete anesthesiology residency. It has been a long road at this point. 5 years college, 1 year post-bac, 4 years med school, 4 years residency, and I owe $200k in student loans. 12. Get dream job, make approximately $280k. Tears of joy when first paycheck comes. You have been visited by the romantic doggo. Comment love is magic so you never fall in the friend zone. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video, or don't. Either way, have a great day you magnificent people.